Where's Creed? Creed?
Here.
Quality assurance. Your job. I really think you screwed the pooch on this one, Creed. Because of you, the entire company is in jeopardy.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. We got some interesting things to talk about. A lot of times it feels like all the blame is kind of placed on the writers when a lot of these changes are made or bad storylines, your Hydra Cap, one more day and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, it feels like we're getting more of these things nowadays. And I wanted to talk to my friend Jerome, friend of the channel for quite some time, comic book fan, wrestling fan. How you doing, Jerome?
Hey there. How are you, Wes? I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a fantastic show, and I'm here to offer as much support and love as possible. Thank you.
I appreciate you. You reached out. You're like, hey, man, don't you think somebody else should be taking the blame? It can't all lay on the writers' hands. You know what? You want to come on here and talk about it? We can have a conversation. And yes. I'm really glad that you could join me here today. So obviously, we're seeing a lot of changes, a lot of retcons of characters with whether it's Tim Drake, at DC Comics. We got changes kind of happening to Iron Man where they're really wholesale changing the character. And this is something that award-winning writer Joe Corallo, who's been on the channel, he's mentioned. He's like, hey, listen, nobody, Megan Fitzmartin didn't go in there and tell DC Comics, this is what I'm doing. There's nothing you could do about it. Chris Cantwell wasn't able to go into the editorial offices of Marvel Comics and saying, this is what Iron Man is now, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's obviously there is a bit of sign-off by the editorial teams and, the group editors and the executives over at Marvel and DC on what's happening with the characters.
Yeah, definitely. I was like many other people, every time something would go wrong or something that's kind of like, that could have been written, a little bit better. Yes, the energy will always go to the writer. But, I was just, our earlier conversations, I was just wondering after a certain point in time, like, yeah, they could write the craziest or the zaniest thing on the planet, but somebody has to give them the green light to go all the way. There's got to be some fat somewhere where they're able to just freely move around in the fashion that they're able to move around and say what they need to say. And I just thought that, sometimes people, we got to learn more about it. Cause that was my question. Like, should we be like looking directly to the editorial staff and having conversations with them about certain matters as well? And the writers that shouldn't be excluded from it as well, because they are writing the product as well. But the editorial staff is the staff that seems to be the one that is giving the green light on it. And I was just trying to find out, what is their total occupation? What are their powers? What are their abilities? That was the question.
An assistant editor, probably not much. Probably there just to help out with the writers, make sure that anything that the regular editor can't take care of or any odds and ends that you got to, the editor probably is there to really help beef up the story, make sure the continuity and stuff is. But once you get up to the group editor, they absolutely have veto power. They can say, no, you can't do that with the character. Or we're not taking the character down that road because in 7 months we're doing this other event that's tying in over here, and you have to get the character moving that way. Where they're supposed to be managing the line and make sure that things are connecting and really working together. And it feels like I'm with you. The ball's been dropped, and I think
a lot of times
ultimately the creators themselves are taking far too much blame. It feels like they essentially take all of it, or perhaps it's not like CB Cebulski doesn't get added quite a bit on social media and be like, hey, this sucks, but CB Cebulski's he's managing hiring, he's probably doing some budgeting, stumping for more marketing dollars and stuff like that. Really it lies with the group editors, guys like a Jordan White or a Tom Brevoort, who's kind of like he's supposed to be like the canon guy. He's supposed to make sure that everything makes sense.
But sometimes when I hear Tom talk, he does a lot of deflection.
Absolutely. Nobody wants to take blame for their bad stories. He's the one that said comic fans don't know what they want.
That's wrong. And see that's one of those. You see, that's that scenario where we got the wrong people in the right room, and that's what it seemed like we have a lot when it comes to the comic industry as a whole, as not as a whole, but as the part of the writing process, as the production process. It just seemed like the wrong people are in the right room. We have to. There's got to be a way or some sort of approach to have this direct conversation with them to hold them accountable for it. It almost just seemed like they're throwing things to the wall and just trying to see if something stick in certain matters. And there's no referral to some of the greater stories and stuff like that. They don't even want to bring in elders sometimes for a great storyline or a great book. I remember you had a preview with the Aquaman anniversary special, and it was like one artist from the past that used to draw the book. They just gave her a cover. Like, she should get much more than that.
Yeah, specifically, Ramona Fradon.
Ramona Fradon. Yeah. Like, it's fascinating. Like, it's like, oh, they're not relevant no more. But this is not music. You don't have to do that here. The older you are, the greater you are in certain cases. And when it comes to books or writing, the much more experience you have on a particular character, you'll flesh it out all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you think of like a Tom Brevoort. I think we all saw the 616 documentary from Disney Plus, and you have Dan Slott there, and I do think some of that was done in jest, but there was a lot of truth to it, obviously, where he's putting everybody behind schedule. He's not getting his his scripts in on time, which is throwing back the artist, which is throwing back the colorist, which is throwing back the letter, and they're having to bring in extra writers and stuff, and you're like, why is this guy in charge of anything? But then you think of all the things that have kind of happened underneath his watch, and most people might not love Tom Brevoort, but I don't see a lot of people laying the problems or the terrible storylines of what's going on in Iron Man or the United States of Captain America and other stories at Marvel Comics at Tom Brevoort's feet, when really likely he's got the most power as far as the day-to-day operations of what's going into comic books.
Yeah. So do you think that fans should have a conversation with him, or should be looking at him, and when they see distasteful product that's being displayed,
I think fans should provide feedback in as professional a manner as that they can handle at the moment, not go too far, otherwise, there's a point where if you go too far, that's not professional feedback, then I don't have to listen to it. But, they should voice their displeasure. The problem is, I've seen Tom Brevoort interact with people. I've seen
it's the shield. It's like,
you don't know what you want. Well, actually, I do know what I want. I want a nice portrayal of Matt Murdock as Daredevil with some character progression within the confines of what Daredevil is and what he stands for. Now, I don't want to tell you where to take him, but there are some boundaries that have been created with the character, with the history, the mission of the character, the characteristics, traits. You can change some things here and there, but you just can't wholesale change the character, which hasn't happened with Daredevil because Chip Zdarsky's writing it. I'm just as an example, there are Chip or Tom Brevoort and the group editors are really the people that are supposed to understand the boundaries of what this character operates within.
Yeah.
And once you start deviating too far, they're supposed to say, no, you need to get back in here. Let's make the story fit the character rather than make the character fit the story. And far often we're getting the latter rather than the former.
Yeah. I agree with you there. And also too, when the writers, some of the writers, sometimes I do a little research on some of the writers that are doing certain books, especially like when I read a book and it's like, man, that book was kind of, who wrote that? So I go back and it's like, how did he get that job? My curiosity kicks in, like, what other books did this person write? Let's say sometimes, like Leah Williams, since when I blew right through those X Factor books, and I was just trying to sit there and I was just trying to think, okay, what did you learn from it? What did you get from that book? Did this book needed to exist? at its whole, I didn't understand why that book existed. It just
It's for people to argue.
yeah, it didn't need to be there. It didn't need to be there. It made no. It just didn't help. Even if she had to wrap up the series the way that she wrapped it up, at the end of the day, the whole book was like, it was weak sauce. It was just weak sauce. It was like, you know what? We didn't need this book at all. We didn't need this book at all. And it was like, where did she come from? So,
Well,
you know,
she did Amazing Mary Jane beforehand, which kind of fits into her experience before coming into Marvel Comics, and it was pretty well received. People like that story. But before that, she'd done X-Men. She did that Extremist miniseries for Age of X-Men, and it was awful. It was worse than X Factor.
Then I'm not going there. I'm not getting that book then. Yeah. I'm not getting that book then. But I saw that and I just didn't understand it. It was like, yo, she you know, there's a couple of writers that are there currently right now. Like, you know what? You don't want to put them down and say, you know, they're just trash. But there is product that's like, you know what?
Needs some work.
Yes, without a shadow of a doubt.
And X Factor, X Factor is a perfectly good starter series. If you come in, you do a little bit of work here and there. Your first ongoing's X Factor. Got your training wheels on you and trying to develop you. So eventually, maybe you get up to the X-Men book or you get up to the Wolverine book.
Yeah.
But the problem is you never really see improvement.
Yeah, especially with that run right there. That was possibly the weakest X-Men book that I experienced since this entire run, and I just didn't understand why it existed at some point in time. You know, like, wow, they could just get rid of this book as a whole because the characters were weak and the development was weak, and it was just constantly the boundaries of sexuality was more undetermined.
That was the focus of the book rather than adventures and investigations.
Yeah. I
remember I read the first issue. I was like, okay, we've got 30 pages of interpersonal conflict and people talking about what their sexuality is, and we have 4 pages of investigation because I guess you had to get an investigation into the book.
Yeah.
It was like it was an afterthought.
Yeah, totally. It was just totally there. So to see the book and then to see the reason why she got the backlash at some point in time too, I understood it a little bit. It was like, you know, if she would have just focused on just making these characters great, just bringing a lot out. She had a great playground. You know, she could have did a lot with Polaris. Polaris is an untapped potential that I don't think any other writer probably really got a great chance to explore on. And
also the idea of going out investigating mutants' deaths to see if they're available for resurrection protocol is interesting. You can go out there and maybe you find a mutant that faked their death. Or maybe you solve some kind of really cool case. But like I said, the investigations themselves were the afterthought. Instead of the focus of the writing. Yeah,
wasn't it just it was just the Mojo episode that was just the real case. After that, there was, I think everything else was drama. Like, you know, just conversation. You know, and then Siren. Remember Siren? She with the Manchester. It was like, did it need 3-4 issues? It didn't need that. It needed like 1 or 2 issues, and you could have closed that.
Well, it needed Jordan White, the group editor and the editor of the book, to step in there and help her craft a better story. And that's not really what we're getting at. You know, kind of to bring it back to what the initial thoughts on the video were. But you think about One More Day. Essentially, is it the most reviled comic story in history? I think it is.
Yes.
And you find out, that was mostly at the behest of management. It wasn't the writer. I think it's J. Michael Straczynski wrote the story.
Yeah.
But they told him to write, and he did the best thing that he could. But that wasn't his idea. That was like Joe Quesada and other people's idea. You think about Heroes in Crisis. I would say the most reviled recent story, in comic books, and certainly one of the most reviled stories in DC Comics history. Tom King, I'm not a fan. But if you see the original press releases about what Heroes in Crisis was going to be, and you saw the original solicitations for the issues, and then what we ended up getting, they're drastically different. you can tell they first of all, it was supposed to be 6 issues, ends up being 9. So there's 3 extra issues added in there. Yeah. But by the time you get to the end, all the things that it started out as, according to the press release and from the writer himself, it all changed dramatically. And from what I'm told, and I'm going to talk to it more in depth with Josh, who works at BatmanNews.com.
Okay.
That was almost all at Editorial went in and made those changes. And Tom King, who I'm not a fan of, went there and adjusted his story. We know he did the same thing with Batman. It was not his idea to kill Alfred. Alfred was supposed to die, and then it was supposed to be revealed that it was Psycho Pirate messing with Damian Wayne as a means of getting to it. But Alfred himself was actually supposed to be revealed to be alive. And then the editorial's like, nope, he's dead now. He's like, that's not the story. And he ended up having to rewrite the end of his Batman series.
And that's another one. Well, that's another story. Like, how do you kill Alfred?
If you want to do something shocking and you want to have a big cliffhanger, you kill Alfred, and then 3 issues later you reveal that he wasn't actually dead. It was Psycho Pirate messing with Damian Wayne, and you're like, you got me.
Yeah, I would accept that more than now. Like, I mean, the run is okay. How to this degree, how you feel great things about this run right here?
Which one?
With Tynion, Batman, Tynion.
Titans Batman is basically just replaying the greatest hits. It's a bunch of stuff that's already happened in Batman history. But it's really decompressed. It's not my favorite. It's not bad. It's better than Tom King. The art is absolutely baller. Jorge Jimenez is killing it as far as the artist. But it's not my favorite run. But there's so much Batman out there, to be completely honest, that you don't have to read the main Batman series to read Batman.
Which is true.
There's a lot of it.
Which is true.
Yeah.
I got you there. So again, when it comes to the editorial staff and the powers that they got, like, let's say we have a conversation about earlier. You said something about Campbell in the Iron Man run. Mm-hmm. Like how does the process of that is laid out, where they like, when he's with Hellcat, for what reason? The history.
I think she's there to point out all the faults of Tony Stark and remind him of how he's failing. That's the way I take it. That's the point of the character in the story. Disguised as a love interest. But she's there when Tony's at his worst to say, listen, really you failed worse than you thought you did.
Yeah.
I know you're in the hospital now because you flew into that thing and you shattered your arm and you should have died. But really, if you weren't white and rich, you wouldn't even have access to this medical care. So, you're kind of privileged, Tony. You should feel bad about yourself. It's like, weird.
It is. That's the thing. And that's the thing. Like, our Marvel heroes are virtually not the same. That's why we have such a revere for, like, the Hulk. The Hulk is a different spin than what it was previously before. It's a great story.
Immortal Hulk's awesome because it ties directly back into all that Peter David Hulk that everyone loves.
Yeah,
it was really working on those multiple personality issues that he had incorporated. Obviously, they deviated from that. You get World War Hulk, Planet Hulk, and all that great stuff by Greg Pak. But when he went back to it and they incorporated the body horror from Joe Bennett, it's like, man, this is anything I could ever want from a Hulk comic. Yeah, I would have imagined they would go this far, and it was great.
That's what they need to do with the Fantastic Four and the Avengers, because the Avengers, I don't know what Jason Aaron is doing. Jason Aaron is out for lunch.
I think he's
playing with us.
Like, I would like to do these 5 things, and that's what I'm going to do in these weird greatest hits. Like, I want to do Phoenix, I want to do Kachu, I want to do World War Hulk. It's like, okay, buddy.
We don't. Yeah, but why are we in a Celestial anyway?
That was the first issue.
Why?
The first 10 issues of Jason Aaron's Avengers actually aren't bad. I mean, I'm not going to say that Celestial Mountain thing, Avengers Mountain, is cool, because it's probably not. But everything else in there was kind of dope. I was like, man, this version of Robbie Reyes is pretty good. Okay. This version of Captain Marvel isn't the most annoying thing I've ever seen. Yes. You know, there's some good stuff going on there. To just kind of once what was it? It was that Thor event, War of the Realms. Once War of the Realms happened and they had those Avengers tie-ins in there, the just died.
Yeah. It got crazy. I think that was the one where they had the little tie-in with that, and then they had the little secret thing with the Squadron Supreme, and I didn't know what I was reading. Like,
well, because they never paid it off for 2 years.
Yeah,
and there wasn't a whole lot of like C-plot reminders. Is like, I don't even know where this is headed.
Yeah. See,
and you got into Dracula. Blade joins the team, and it was like,
yeah. And then
kind of fell apart.
And then the ending of that, now he's there. He's an ambassador there. It's like, these editors, man, we gotta talk to them.
Need better editors.
Yeah, there's so many other stories we could rewrite right now. I saw yesterday that there was something coming up about the Masters of Evil and their anniversary coming up. All right.
750. It's gonna be a new. It's the multiversal Masters of Evil.
I thought that was ironic that came out after you guys did that video with Roger Stern. I said, yeah, isn't that kind of crazy? It's like, wow, because that was excellent storytelling. It was a great story about what the Avengers should be about, constantly, all the time. And I just wish that these guys do a lot of it more of that, and stop playing around. Stop being afraid of external sources that don't matter, that don't care, that don't support the book like that. They only do it when they're online, and go back to their base. Go back to the base and listen to what your base is telling you. The fans that are there for you for 20, 30, 40 plus years, they're the ones that's buying your books. They're the ones that's supporting everything that you do. Everyone else is just banter. They're just talking.
Yeah, they're kind of supporting the message rather than the product. But I'm with you. Just kind of start wrapping this up. If I'm in charge of Marvel, if I'm in charge of DC, I double the salaries of the editors and the group editors, because I think of that as like a force multiplier. One good editor can probably improve 5 stories. If you get a couple of good Batman editors, you start improving the quality. You put them out there, and if you get the quality of the personnel up that really have an understanding of the 3-act structure of what comic book as a visual medium is, and you could really improve the quality of things. But it sounds like, from what I understand, that the compensation just right now is just so low, you're not going to get real high quality people for the most part. And I think it's evident in what we're seeing.
Yeah, it could be possibly that, or you just got to get somebody in there to love it. That just love it is like, what, I'm gonna get mines.
I know a couple of guys that would work for Marvel or DC as an editor that could do the job, that know the character histories, and would do it for what they're paying now. They wouldn't be happy, but they would want to do it just because they love the characters. Yeah, and I think that is something that you're right, that's missing. I don't know that there's a love for comic book storytelling. There's not a love for the universes, and not really a lot of love for the characters coming out of the publishers at this time. And I think it kind of starts at the editorial team.
Definitely, because you see guys like that. You'll see a couple of guys every time when we see a new writer on the book. What's the first thing that they do? Especially now, modern day. Especially when you see a lot of the writers now. When I see somebody, the first thing they want to do is if they retcon a character or whatever the case may be to their specifications.
Change the origin, sexual orientation, something.
Yeah. And it's like, wow, like, what? Before, if we were talking to another particular writer, it was like, wait until you see what we're going to do with this character. We're going to make some spectacular changes we hope the fans will love and enjoy. You will hear much more of that. To them, it's like what I can do to it, what I can leave there, what message I can, leave with this particular character. So I get you, though.
All right, well, Jerome, I do want to say thank you for joining me here, talking about some comic books. Hoping to have you all back on the channel again. But we are going to talk about pro wrestling in the future. We're going to do some wrestling stuff, and you've agreed to join you and myself, and there's going to be somebody else joining us.
Yeah, I'm going to have a great time with that one there. I'm going to try to get you on AEW. I'm trying to get you at Mance Warner.
It's hard being in the Philippines and getting access to all this stuff, It's not all on television.
Yeah, which is true. AEW, I think it's on Fight. Actually, I think it is on Fight. I mean, we'll talk.
Yes, that's where I get AEW, but I wish they had just like a Fight Pass where it's like $20 and you could watch it all. But you got to get individual subscriptions to each wrestling promotion.
Yeah, that's the trick. Because I tried. I thought I had that problem with GCW at one time. I thought one of the matches that I went to in Jersey was going to be up on there, and it was like it wasn't there, but when it went up there, it was like you know, just like how you said, you got to pay for that, and I paid for AEW already monthly, so I was like, oh, don't worry, I got it out. It's gonna cover everything. Went to the site.
You get the one promotion.
Yeah, man. Like, man. All right,
buddy. I'll see you later. This is a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks a lot once again. I appreciate it.